let's start by talking about the Bucks. Uh, Look, I think that this is an interesting matchup from the perspective of the Knicks are the better balanced team. What's tough about them, though, is that they're the better balanced team on aggregate. Where if you go back and you look at them game by game, at dunks and threes, they're ninth in offense. I'm sorry, they're 13th in offense, fifth in defense. The Bucks are eighth in offense, 17th in defense. Their defense is worse than the Knicks' offense is. The problem is if you go back and you look game by game for the Knicks, is that you find a lot of like, oh, the offense was great in this game, but the defense wasn't. Oh, the defense was great in this game, but the offense wasn't. And that's inconsistent versus the Bucks have been pretty consistent in that the defense is mediocre and the offense is exceptional. Like the minutes with Giannis and Dame on the court, they're killing teams, which you would expect from a team with that much firepower. It is very rare that I think that Tom Thibodeau has a coaching advantage in a tactical matchup. He has a tactical matchup advantage here. I do not think that Adrian Griffin is as prepared for this job as maybe the Bucks hoped he would be. There's been a lot of like the Bucks starters are giving a lot of advice for how to do things. They've had to change the scheme. All those things I think are a concern. It being in Milwaukee is definitely tough. But I will say this. I kind of think that the Knicks are more together right now. Now, look, I have like just a number projection on this too, right? Like I wouldn't be just playing this based off of like, I think that they're a more together team. Like that's not how you make bets. You can, but I think it's pretty tough if you don't have like a tactical side of it. I make this game Bucks minus about 1.8. So I've got like a very significant edge on this game with about 3 points of value. That plus the fact of that's kind of all right, let's check the number. What does the number say? And then I kind of asked myself, does that make sense? And there's a lot of times when I'm like, no, that does not make sense, model. Shut the fuck up. This is one where I do kind of be like, yeah, no, I think the Knicks can hang. The Knicks have proven versus the Celtics, versus the Sixers, in a lot of these big spots that they can hang. Like they're a pretty good team when they're up against pretty tough opponents. There's a chance that they can grind this down. They do have enough 3-point shooting to maybe keep up with Milwaukee. So, I'll lay a little bit with the money line because of the IST and all of that. But I also, I definitely like getting the full 5 points here. I think this is a close game. I like the Knicks here, but you said you've got to lean towards the Bucks. Is that right?
There's a lot to break down here, and I'll be honest, I didn't really look to. I mean, and you got to look at a lot of different factors when betting these NBA games, especially. But I mean, you got me there. The Thibodeau over Griffin. I mean, Griffin looks a little over his head. Let's be honest here. I didn't necessarily like the hire. It's not that I wanted Budenholzer over him, but he's a rookie head coach going into a team that, I mean, they have championship aspirations basically every single year. Obviously with Giannis and Dame, so I don't necessarily think that he was ready for that. But I mean, the Bucks are hot, man. They're 8-2 straight up last 10 games. They're 9-1 at the house. This is where they play their best basketball. 7-3 against the spread as well. So, and if you're looking at the matchup perspective, which I like to look at, the Knicks have the better overall team. They have the better bench here. But I feel like with Dame and Giannis, when you have two superstar type of players like that, they kind of just like are. I mean, both of them are unstoppable. Brunson is not stopping Dame Lillard. It's not going to happen. They're going to have to try to put Grimes or somebody on him. Brunson will get smoked by Lillard here. And I'm not sure who's going to stop Giannis as well. When he gets it in his mind that, okay, I'm going to win this game, you can't stop Giannis. He's going to drive to the paint every single time, and he's going to get a dunk or layup, or you have to foul him, and obviously has to make his free throw. So I feel like this game might come down to the wire. And if it comes to whose offense I trust more, I do trust Dame and Giannis a little bit more. But obviously the Knicks are the better overall team. They have the better bench. They're the more complete team, like you said, man. So this is a really tough matchup for me to figure out. I'll be honest. 6 at the opener was too high of a number, which is down to 4.5, 5 now. But I could see it going either way, but something tells me that the Bucks get it done at the house. And one more thing, Matt, we know Dame Lillard has never won anything in the NBA. This is his chance and they're probably not going to win a championship this year as well. And he's been very vocal about wanting to win this NBA Cup because it's like his chance to get some type of trophy, right? So I have that in the back of my head, and I know that Lillard's going to do everything he can to try to get to Vegas. And so I do have a small lean to the Bucks at -4.5.
Man, I mean, you make a good point there about like, do I really want to go against Dame time on the road in a win or go home environment? I guess the only thing I would say is the big edge, and we talked about this on Monday's show, is the Bucks bench in the last 2 weeks has been really bad. Now, the on-court, off-court stuff doesn't really reveal that because they stagger them enough, but the Knicks bench is absolutely phenomenal. Actually, via NBA.com, which their numbers are a little wonky, but the NBA.com has actually got starters with a little bit of an advantage for the Knicks and bench with an advantage for the Knicks, a 2-point advantage for the Knicks via the NBA.com's numbers. Now, again, some of those are a little wonky, so caveats there, but I do think it's like an interesting perspective of, do I expect the Bucks starters to outperform the Knicks starters? Yeah, but the question is going to be end of first quarter, start of second quarter, and then once it gets into crunch time, I feel okay with having Jalen Brunson. I feel okay with a Knicks team that has a pretty strong belief. And I do kind of wonder, you said that Dame wants to win this thing. Dame might, but Brooke and Chris and Giannis, those guys have titles and they want another one, and that's what they're competing for. And so I am kind of curious. And also, here's another thing. As a narrative trend, this is a narrative thing. From a narrative perspective, the Celtics basically had the same problem tonight that they have every single playoffs, which is that their offense dies for a long stretch and they just lose the rope completely. So, like, a good question here, I think, is like, okay, are we going to see some of the trends that show up in these high tension environments pop up with some of these teams? I will say that the Bucks are 3-1 straight up and ATS versus teams over 500. That includes a win over the Mavericks. They covered versus the Celtics, and they did beat the Heat straight up as well. They're 2-2 straight up and 3-1 ATS. I'm sorry. So they've done well versus the limited number of good teams so far, but I wind up feeling like the Knicks are the team that, like I said, is a little bit more together. And so I'll go ahead and grab the points here. I don't know if I can't give out. I don't think the money line is the best bet based off of what you said. Like, I do think that the Bucks probably win this game with the edge, or at least that there's the value on it. But I'll grab the points gladly here and take this kind of opportunity because, by the way, another small trend in your favor here. The Knicks are 2-5 against the spread versus teams over 500, so they haven't done great in that environment either.
And Matt, the Bucks have played really well versus the Knicks. They've won 7 straight and they're 5-0-2 against the spread in their last 7 games as well. So for whatever reason, they can't seem to stop Giannis and Cole. And obviously now they have Lillard. I mean, you already couldn't really stop Giannis, which they still have Middleton and Brook Lopez. We can't forget they hadn't had like a top tier season, but they could have a good game here. Guys like Bobby Portis coming off the bench. But I just feel like with adding Dame there, it's just a little unfair because now he has that closer. Now Giannis doesn't have to close or have the ball in his hands. He actually has a guy that can close the game with free throws and make those threes. And then, I mean, the Dame Lillard and Giannis pick and roll is just, it's absolutely crazy. But I do agree, the Knicks, top to bottom, 1-9, they have the better team. But like, if it was in New York, I'd be on the Knicks for sure. But the fact that it's in Milwaukee and this team is hot right now and they've seemed to figure some things out on offense, I do think it's going to be really close on the spread, to be honest with you.
I'm gonna hit the over on this one too as a late ad. I've got this projected all the way up at 235, and while we kind of have seen defense be played a little bit more, I still think this number is too low given the offense and honestly given the defensive problems of the Bucks here. Plus, look, I think one of these teams probably hits a lot of threes. If the Knicks win this game, it's probably because they hit a bunch of threes. If the Bucks win, it's probably because they're able to get the ball moving inside out, and they're able to get 3-pointers going as well. So I'll take the over at 225 here. It's up from an opener of 222.5. So we see sharp movement pushing this lineup. I'll go ahead and grab the 225.5 over on this game as well.